Hello everybody, Avi Abelo from the eternal and undivided capital of the Jewish people here in Jerusalem in our ancestral homeland for IsraelUnwired.com. Big topic, major topic. There is so much to unpackage on this one, and it goes so deep, and there are so many layers. Obviously, I'm not going to go into everything, but I'm going to do my best to give everyone an understanding of what's going on, just so people understand how critical this issue is of what I call, and I'm not alone, the legal witch hunt of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. It has actual ramifications on our electoral process because this is taking place, and the legal establishment has used these cases to manipulate the electoral process, basically. We can get into that as well. Again, just before we go into the topic at hand, thank you to each and every one of you for watching the videos, for sharing the videos, for commenting, and obviously anyone who please enjoys and feels that the work we do and the videos we make and put out are important. All you can do to help support us with a tax-deductible donation, link will be put right down below to just click on and show us your support to help us keep on going and do this important work to get the truth out about Israel and the Jewish people. Okay, the latest developments on the legal witch hunt of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. So obviously everyone in Israel knows this process is going on. I don't know how much media attention it's getting abroad in the non-Jewish Israeli press, but you're talking about a legal process where we are waiting to find out if an indictment will come down from the Attorney General on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, not just on one case, but on potentially two cases, and could have been many cases. And just so you understand, there was a case 1000, a case 2000, a case 3000, a case 4000. I think you could already get the feeling, if those are the official names of the cases, there is a witch hunt going on, and these are just the latest cases over the past few years, because there has been this legal witch hunt against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ever since he became Prime Minister the first time back in the mid-1990s. You're talking about more than 20 years of a legal witch hunt against him. All right, so let's get into it. What is the latest? The latest development is so disturbing on so many levels. Israeli journalist Amit Segal last night revealed, with proof that he actually couldn't publicize, that one of the state witnesses that actually was a close confidant, a friend, and an appointee of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who was turned into a state witness. So this journalist last night, Amit Segal, exposed the interrogation and that this man Nir Chefetz was subjected to by the special units of the police. You're talking about a potential witness to white-collar crime, and the intimidation used against this man is off the charts, makes no sense whatsoever. I don't know whether to go say illegal, but he was jailed for 2 weeks' time. Part of that was in solitary confinement. Family, close friends' life was threatened. This is a potential witness, a friend and confidant of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. His testimonies go against one another. He keeps on saying in his testimonies that are recorded that he doesn't remember, yet somehow finally, after agreeing to turn state witness, they finally got the testimony that they wanted, that is being used. He, as a key state witness against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. This is, I think, for case 4000. And basically, there is a huge understanding from people who are following this case that once again, it can be looked at as a witch hunt, a legal witch hunt against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, because this case 4000 is falling apart. One, because the how it's been exposed of the interrogation used against this person to turn him into a state witness, that even the Attorney General says that he did not approve, and two, that his word can be totally killed in front of a judge, because his own testimonies go against one another, several testimonies, until finally they got what they wanted after enough intimidation that he decided to turn state witness. And most disturbing of all is that this journalist Amit Segal was forbidden from the legal establishment, from the Attorney General's office, to publicize anything or any of the details dealing with the intimidation, the police intimidation of this man who was turned state witness. And journalists are up in arms. It makes no sense it makes no legal sense. It has no legal basis for the Attorney General's office, or whatever office decided upon it, to forbid any publication of any of the details regarding this horrific, abusive interrogation of this man Nir Chefetz, to turn him into a state witness. Because obviously the question everyone asks, what is the legal establishment hiding by forbidding journalists from going public with the details that they know about this very unusual and wrong and potentially illegal interrogation and subjugation of this man to turn him into a state witness against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay? And again, from what I understood and I heard, I mean, there are reasons where the legal establishment can say that details must be forbidden from publication regarding interrogations, but that usually is when it would affect the potential witness and his testimony and his future testimony, etc., etc., etc. But here, everything is known. The actual testimony has been publicized. It doesn't have to do with the testimony. It won't make any difference on the actual witness who's been turned state witness, a friend and confidant of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. So it makes no legal sense that the legal establishment should forbid any of the details dealing with this crazy interrogation and jailing of this friend, confidant of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And the biggest question mark that goes up is, what is the legal establishment hiding by forbidding the publication of all this information? But one thing that comes strongly through this latest development is that this case, that the whole anti-Bibi Netanyahu camp has been relying upon to bring down Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and bring to an indictment against him, is also falling apart. All right? That is the latest. Now, just a week or two ago, there was another development. A few weeks ago, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was allowed to have a hearing where he brought his lawyers and to sit in front of the Attorney General's office and the staff dealing with the interrogations against him. And they brought a brief, just so people understand, the cases brought against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that they're trying to catch him on are bribery. Okay? They're trying to catch him on bribery, which means jail time. But understand, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu never took a bribe. There is no money being given under the table. There is no bribe. They're trying to build cases that it's bribery and other things, not money, but in media attention or media coverage, and other things like that, and bribery in terms of making decisions in the government level. Okay? But from what I understand and everything I've been reading up and listening to, there is no smoking gun at all. that is to be found. They've been investigating him for years. And again, like you say, like you hear, there's a case 1,000, a case 2,000, a case 3,000, a case 4,000. They are always looking. They're always fishing. They're always fishing. You're talking about hundreds and millions of dollars of of Israeli taxpayer money, right? Because I should have used shekels, of Israeli taxpayer money that's been used by a select few in the establishment, in the legal establishment, to do a fishing expedition over years to find stuff on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to take him down. All right, to me, it's clear. I've been talking about this for years, even before case 1,000. This was already clear to me from the decades of other cases, one after another, that were brought to bring him down, bring his family down. So this Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu actually brought some U.S. lawyers who put together a brief and presented it to the Attorney Generals and the Attorney General's office, where they said that the whole cases that they are building upon as bribery actually would make Israel a pariah state if they used that as the legal basis to take Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu down, because how they're trying to interpret or create a new interpretation of bribery is actually what exists in reality all over the world, all over the freedom-loving world where there's freedom of the press. And if they take Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu down as bribery for making deals regarding media coverage, for again the relationship with media for positive media coverage, then not only would they be basically making illegal any connection between politicians and journalists, but that would make the press that much more powerful, because politicians would always be afraid to say anything or be interpreted or anything, and journalists can always be, and whenever they write something, whether pro a politician or a policy or against a politician or a policy, journalists can be issued a subpoena to be brought and investigated if there was bribery involved. Why are you writing a positive piece for the politician? Why are you writing a negative piece for this politician? So anyone can abuse the legal system then to shut down the freedom of the press. And again, these were U.S. lawyers, including Alan Dershowitz, who assisted in putting together this brief in front and presented it on behalf of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Alan Dershowitz was not here in Israel, but other lawyers were, but his name was on the brief. And they were explaining that you would make Israel a pariah state and make the situation even worse than it is today, and you're going against the norms of the whole freedom-loving world in terms of relationship between politicians and the media. So that was a few weeks ago. That also was brought down and breaking apart the legal case. And even with this, there is still a huge feeling that the legal establishment is on this witch hunt, and hell or high water, they're going to indict Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And it is very, very scary situation, because they're making up their own rules, and it's all about an anti-Bibi agenda to take him down and to basically have a legal putsch against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. They can't beat him at the ballot box. So you're talking about a deep state, which isn't so deep because they're on the surface and everyone knows who they are, out to take down Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, one of the more disturbing aspects of this, and not really talked about, is some of the personalities involved. Okay? The Attorney General, who actually has to make the final decision whether to indict Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on any of these cases, his name is Avichai Mandelblit. He actually was a close confidant of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, but there is a wrinkle, and not a small wrinkle, but a huge wrinkle. And that huge wrinkle is that Mandelblit himself was involved in a legal hiccup a number of years ago when he was the JAG, the top officer of JAG, the Attorney General of the Israeli Army. When then, again, I'm not going to go into the details, but the then head of the General Staff, Gabi Ashkenazi, was in a kind of fight with the Minister of Defense, Ehud Barak, about who to appoint next after him. Ashkenazi wanted to continue, and Ehud Barak wanted to replace him with someone else. and a close confidant of Gabi Ashkenazi. His name was Harpaz, Boaz Harpaz, I think, developed a forged document that tried to influence the whole process of choosing the next chief of the general staff. And against Avichai Mandelblit, today's Attorney General, then the Attorney General of the Israeli military, he was involved in this whole thing that went to court, and today's the Attorney General, together with Ashkenazi and Harpaz, were almost indicted. In the end, only Harpaz was blamed for being involved in this whole affair, saying he was a lone wolf. He created the forged document. No one else should take the blame. And he was allowed, Avichai Mandelblit, Gabi Ashkenazi, who is part of the Blue and White Party. This is all so confusing, guys, and I can't go more into it. They got off scot-free, and Harpaz paid the price, and I think he went to jail for this. In any case, people today have information on the Attorney General, on today's Attorney General, okay? Because of that case, you have news a few days ago that Ehud Barak was basically threatening the Attorney General. Then you have the head of the defense establishment who's under the Attorney General. His name is Shai Nitzan, who also it's known that he is really the one pulling the strings. So you have people who understand the power of the legal establishment, how they make their own rules and abuse the legal system to go after and have their own agenda and take down people they don't like. Again, this is not something I'm making up. In the past, you had Yuval Ne'eman. He was nominated to be the Minister of Justice, and the legal establishment came up with some case that stopped him from being appointed. In the end, all charges were dropped. It wasn't anything. You had other potential people to be the head of the Minister of Justice that, again, the legal establishment always happened to come up with cases to stop them from either getting the job or stop them from enforcing reforms and scaring them. You're talking about, and I'm going to say this, mafia-like tactics by people, and I'm going to say it again, a left-wing agenda in the legal establishment to take down and stop a right-wing agenda and potential appointees to make a difference and make the changes necessary to the legal establishment to stop the bad apples in the legal establishment from continuing and getting away with their abuse and injustice of the justice system. So this Avichai Mandelblit is under tremendous pressure because on the one hand, he's the Attorney General, he is supposed to be making the right decision. On the other hand, you have some people on the side who are holding information against him, I imagine, and saying, you do not indict Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, well, we're going to take you down. You were let go on the Harpaz, Gabi Ashkenazi case years ago, but we still have the goods on you and we will ruin you. That is the way things are, and he is the Attorney General who has to make the final decision. So there is huge doubt whether he can make a truly just decision as the Attorney General, and you see how it's all connected, because this Gabi Ashkenazi is part of the Blue and White Party with Benny Gantz, Yair Lapid, and Moshe Boogie Ya'alon. Those are the four leaders of the Blue and White Party, and Ashkenazi is part of that. It's all very confusing. But again, you see, over decades, there is a rotten apple of people within the legal establishment, and I'm not the one saying this. The Minister of Justice, today's Minister of Justice, just last week, Amir Hochana went public with a press conference saying exactly that. He said there is a bunch of rotten apples within the legal system, and they must be stopped. And he used quotes from, believe it or not, Avichai Mandelblit, today's Attorney General, called out that someone who today works under him, who's pushing the whole indictment against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. His name is Shai Nitzan. Avichai Mandelblit called out the Attorney General's office and the legal establishment when he was being hounded a few years ago, and said that you can't trust them, and they're going after made up cases. And today he's the one who's not allowing criticism to be made of the legal establishment. So you can understand the confusion here. It is very, very frightening. Very frightening. And this is what we're dealing with. And you're talking about a left-wing agenda that understands in the parliament they lost power, right? Year after year, election after election, the right kept on winning. So they who run culture, right? They get all the money from government for movies that are anti-Israel, that are shown around the world, that go to the Oscars, that go to festivals, that they have a hold on the Israeli media. For years we had to fight to get more patriotic, proud Israeli media sources for news, whether print, whether television. We still don't have television, a proper channel in television. We have online social media. Change that. There are voices, right-wing voices, patriotic voices, but still majority of the media is left-wing. Television for sure is left-wing, an anti-Bibi agenda. Anti-telling the truth about the Arab parties, like Caroline Glick just said in a video I did with her last week, that the Joint Arab List is united against destroying the State of Israel. You won't hear that by any pundits or analysts on the mainstream Israeli news whenever they're talking or interviewing any of the representatives. No hardball questions, all softball questions, totally ignoring the danger they pose to Israel and all Israelis, including Muslim Israelis, by that Joint Arab List being in the parliament and potentially in a government. No hardball questions by the mainstream political analysts or newscasters, etc. And then you have them abusing the legal system. So you have the left with culture, with media, and with the legal establishment taking advantage, abusing their power to take down whoever they want to take down, and stopping political, ideological, right-wing agendas from going forward. That is the major problem we have here in Israel. That is the major ideological battle, and that's why even though the right-wing has won election after election, we still have not seen proper right-wing policies put in place. The last government was the most right-wing we ever had it, where we had politicians who said, we're not scared of this establishment anymore, we're going to start making those changes. But Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, even though he knew about these problems, he won't say them, he's never come out publicly saying these problems, but even though he's known about them, he stopped all potential law changes to the legal establishment that could have helped change it and taken the pressure off of him. But for whatever reason, he did not do that. I'm sure he had his reasons. But now, more and more Israelis are realizing how rotten it is in that system. And again, the latest, it has to deal with what I mentioned first, about the horrendous interrogation that we used against a friend, confidant, and appointee of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to turn him into a state witness. Things that even the Attorney General said that he did not allow, he did not know about, and that the legal establishment is forbidding any publication of any of the details dealing with that interrogation. That raises huge red flags. What are they trying to hide? What can I finish up with? What I can finish up with is the following. There is so much to unpack here, much more than I said, and keep on following. But the bottom line is the legal establishment, the only reason Benny Gantz, Blue and White Party, is in the position to potentially make a government or potentially be part of a government is because of this legal putsch against Bibi and the right wing, because they use these cases and potential indictments and I didn't tell you about the leaking. There are leaks. The legal establishment has been leaking for years, leaking hundreds and thousands of leaks to the media. And all Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu asked, and all that the Minister of Justice asked for, is to investigate the leaks. Politicians are given polygraphs, police are given polygraphs when an investigation for leaks takes place everywhere and anywhere, but only the legal establishment is stopping and forbidding an investigation to be opened up into the leaks that they themselves are doing, meaning they have strategically used leaks as part of their strategy to take down Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the right, and it's been happening for years, and they do it strategically, and they have their relationships with the journalists, and they do it they know how to time it right, they know what things to put out, and it made a huge impact on the elections. With the Attorney General making an announcement just a few weeks before the elections that a decision was going to come down, or specifically what he said, I don't remember. But again, the legal witch hunt against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been used as a political tool. You're talking about a rotten core in the legal establishment that has abused and misused the justice system in an unjust way as a political tool to take down the right and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. That's the bottom line. The good news The good news is we, the proud Jews who live in Israel and have returned sovereignty to our land and proud of our sovereignty and proud of our people, we are here to stay. And this left-wing, anti-Israel, anti-proud Jewish identity agenda will not succeed. They have been succeeding. They will continue to have wins every once in a while. Whether they succeed in taking down Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, I do not know. But that's the short game. There are going to be ups and downs. But in the long game, we will win. Why? Because we believe in ourselves. We believe in God. We believe we have a purpose. We believe we are part of the redemption process. And the Jewish people returning to the land of Israel is not just good for the Jews, but good for everyone who wants to live with us, and a blessing for all of humanity. And that blessing is seen and felt on a daily basis by what Israel is doing for all the world. And no matter how powerful this rotten core of legal justice officials, together with the media, together with cultural people, no matter how powerful they are today or whatever they try to take us down and whatever wins they might still have, in the end they will lose, because they just believe in wrong. They just believe in taking down the Jewish identity and taking down the Jewish state, in weakening the Jewish state, in strengthening the enemies who want to destroy Israel, where they would be destroyed as well. So it's totally pathological. But they don't have a purpose and they don't have justice. We have a purpose and we have justice. We, the Jewish people, are back in our homeland to be a blessing for everyone who wants to live peacefully with us, and a blessing for humanity. So while this is sad information to hear about these issues, you gotta look at the long game, folks. You gotta look at the big picture. Don't get saddened or upset just by the trees. Look at the forest. And the forest is beautiful. The Jewish people, we are back home in our homeland. We are here to make the world a better place. We are here to make those Muslim, Arabs, and Christians, and Buddhists, and Baha'is, whoever lives in our midst, or atheists, thrive with freedom of religion, freedom of the press, all freedoms, all equality. We are here to stay. We will overcome the bumps in the road, and we will keep on moving forward and overcome the challenges and hardships that this legal establishment, together with those in the media and the culture, are out to suppress. So that is a very complicated, complex, but simplistic way of putting it all together. There's so much there to unpack, much more than I went into, but just to give you an understanding. Thank you everyone for watching. If you want to support the work we do, producing videos, making them, getting them out there, about the truth about Israel, inspiring people about Israel and the Jewish people, please, the link will be below. Just please click and donate and help us continue our important work. Avi Abelo signing off and saying shalom from the eternal and undivided capital of the Jewish people for thousands of years, Jerusalem. Shalom, everyone.